Okay. Question. What's going to have more resistance? A long wire or a short wire? Long wire is going to have more resistance. So if you had an extension cord, you had to go the length of the room, and you had a 50 foot and a 100 foot, you would choose, and both reached, you're going to choose the shorter one. So it has less resistance. Okay with that? Okay. A thick diameter wire or a thin diameter wire is going to have less resistance. Which is going to allow more water to go through, a fire hose or a garden hose? Fire hose. More water molecules per second can go by in a thick, like a fire hose. So a thick wire, for the same reason, is going to have less resistance. A thin wire is going to have more resistance. You all right with that? Okay. So if you ever go to a hardware store and you're buying wire, they're going to sell that based on gauge. Okay? The lower the gauge, the thicker the wire. You can kind of think of the gauge as a measure of resistance. So the lower the gauge, the less the resistance. Okay with that? Hot wire versus cold wire, which is going to have less resistance. So less resistance is actually going to be cold wire. Some people think, oh, hot wire is going to be less resistance because it allows things to move more. That is true. That causes, remember the plight of the electron yesterday? Okay. The increased temperature makes the nucleus of the atoms vibrate more. So it's a rougher gauntlet for the electrons to go through when it gets hotter. So that's why you have cooling fans on computers to keep the circuitry cool. Hardcore gamers actually have like refrigerant systems for their CPUs so that take the lag time down. Okay? So less resistance, short, thick, cold wire. Okay? I really like your vintage, old school light bulbs. Tell your neighbor. Your cancer is, which has more resistance. Skinny filament has more resistance. Remember that? Skinny. Okay. All right, lots of words. Tell your neighbor. Here we go with A. Okay. Correct answer. Tell your neighbor.
They have, he said, something deer. He said yesterday, doesn't seem to be. Oh, wait, no.
Correct answer is. Correct answer is C only. Okay, so hopefully no one's at A. We don't eat electrons. It's not food. So they actually speed up. So when you take your thumb over, so like the filament is the resistor. If you take your thumb and you put it over the end of the hose, that's resisting the flow of water. Less water is coming out of the hose with your thumb here than it is when your thumb's off of that. Does that make sense? But the water that does come out is going really fast. You okay with that? It's like the I-65 analogy. The electrons are going 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going really fast, but they're spread out. Good? Yeah, so a lot of people have questions like what? On a cold day, like your car struggles to start, or if you leave an electronic device in your car overnight by accident, it's like a struggle to get it to go. How is it that like cold makes them like that? Seems like it adds more resistance. What are all those powered by? Batteries. Okay, real quick, how a car works. Old cars and planes, you'd have to manually. There's a guy in them cranking on it, or like clear plug, like this airplane, get it go. Okay, nowadays we have what's called starters, which are motors that are electronic that require a battery to get it going. Once you get it going, then the engine can self-sustain itself. But you need something to kickstart it. Hence the starter runs off your battery. All the other electronic devices that you might have left in the car are also battery operated. The thing that runs the battery are chemical reactions. What happens to chemical reactions in colder temperatures? Slows down. The rate of reaction is slower. That's what's causing the struggle for electronic devices. It's not resistance, it's just how quickly the chemical reaction is taking place in a battery. Good with that? Okay. Next question. Actually, I'm just going to tell you. Correct answer is C. Okay, so from one spot to the next, there's a difference in electric potential, difference in crowdedness from one spot compared to the other. It's how motivated they are. Okay, how much pressure difference there is, one spot compared to the other. Okay. Tell your neighbor. Correct answer is? Correct answer is B. Voltage doesn't flow, just pushes. Okay, so last chapter we learned that voltage in and of itself is not necessarily dangerous. The Van der Graaf generator had a really high voltage, but we got shocked, but it didn't kill us. Okay. If you have high voltage with a lot of electrons being able to be transferred to you, that's where you should be cautious. Okay. So with current, there's a continual flow. So some expressions are like current is what kills. Okay. So this is a continual flow. So if you have 1 milliamp, you can feel that. 5 milliamps, ouch. 10 milliamps, you're like, your muscles are spasming. 15, you're like, loss of muscle control. So when I was in college, one of my roommates he was a physical therapist major, and brought home one of those electro muscle stimulus therapy thing. Super fun to play with. Like I hooked it up across my quad, cranked it all. It's like, ugh! But it was like totally flexing, couldn't do anything. It hurt like crazy, but it was super cool. Like, ugh! If you get a hold of one of those, you gotta like at least play with it a little bit. Like it hurts, but it's cool at the same time. Yeah. So if you have 70 milliamps going through your heart for more than a second, that's game over. A popular question is like, what about the defibrillators? Like the clear, those things, the AEDs. So that's more of a static thing. It's like a burst, a surge, like a shock. It's not continual flowing. Okay, it's more than 70 milliamps, but it's a temporary. It actually runs off a capacitor that charges, and then it's all at once. So you're just trying to trip up the heart to like start to get back on rhythm. It's definitely a desperation move. You do it, like they're dying. So does that make sense? You ever considered that? Have a conversation.
Agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. What? One time I was driving and a person in front of me hit a bird, and the bird like pooped, and then I saw another thing throw up.
What would it be?
But, say like, I do, you hooked up to.
I was like, what? She actually got out of it.
Correct answer is? Actually, all of them. Okay? The root, like the thing that's you're looking for is there needs to be an electric potential difference across their feet. If there's a difference in electron crowdedness from one spot to the next, then there's motivation to go through the bird. Okay? If they're holding on to one wire, there's really no difference in electron crowdedness from one foot to the next. Like, why would the electrons want to go through the bird? Does that make sense? Okay. Now, if it's straddled to another wire, there's going to be a difference. Okay? Or if it's touching the ground, there's also a difference. That's where the electrons want to go anyway. And so that's why it's dangerous to pick up a downed wire, is because you become like that path to the ground. Does that make sense? Okay, so you don't want to put yourself in a situation where there is an electric potential difference between you. Like you don't want to be the path of electric potential difference across your body, if that makes sense. So, the third prong is a ground wire. This is a safety device only. Let's pretend that your washing machine didn't have one of those. It would function just fine. Nothing would be wrong with it. But over the course of time, you know how like loads kind of get imbalanced and they get the go, 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 go thing. And let's just say, over the course of time, it starts to fray away on the wire insulation, exposing the copper wire to the metal frame. The feet of these are usually rubber, and so the frayed wires touch the metal frame. When you go to touch it, like you become a path to the ground. You get shocked. And so what we do is we have this ground wire that this third wire literally bolted to the frame of the device, the metal frame of the device. And then the other side, through circuitry, sometimes connected pipes, literally goes to the dirt, to ground. Okay? So if this does fray, what happens is there's a connection to the ground and it goes and it doesn't go through you. It's going to cause your circuit breaker to trip, which we'll talk later about, but you don't get shocked. That's the whole point of those things. Good with that? Correct answer is, so your voltage is determined by your power supply, which is going to be 120. You're not going to change that. Okay? So to make it brighter, you need more current, which is going to be caused by less resistance. Okay with that? Tell your neighbor what you think. Anybody do this yesterday? Feel the wire get hot? Okay, is it a complete circuit? It is. Electrons are flowing. That's why it got hot. The voltage on the battery does not change, which is what? 1.5 volts, not very high. But because there's less resistance, there's not much resistance, current is high. It gets hot. This is known as a short circuit. Okay? It's a complete circuit, but the thing you're trying to power is not part of that circuit. And so there's really high current and it usually fries things. Gets short circuited. Good with that? Thumbs up if you got something. Correct answer is E, none of these. What happens to the voltage? Stays the same. What happened to the resistance? We included the light bulb, which is the main part of the resistance, like the main resistor. Resistance went up. So current goes down. Good? Okay? All right, so when I was a kid, I helped jumpstart my car. Dad would have me hold the claws, pinchers things, and and they were metal. And I knew back then, like metal is a conductor, and if you're like, did that, you're like, ah, you're like, what? And you're like, what happens if you're like, ah! Like, just get in. Oh, just lost myself. Shoot. Well, see what happens with recording on that one. All right, so. I'm not gonna lick it, but like, I'm safe. Like, there's nothing crazy there, okay? Why am I safe? What's the voltage on a car battery? 12 volts. Is that very high? Not very high. So why am I safe? Too much resistance. You right with that? Okay. So, this is just good practical knowledge. Hopefully you already know how to jump start your car, but just in case you don't. So, your dead battery, every good battery, black is negative, red is positive. At the end of the day, black on black, red on red. Okay? The order of operations, you're going to want to start with the red pincher, go over the red pincher, go to the black pincher on the good. Keep this car running. You want that car running, don't turn it off. And then technically they want you to connect it to the frame of the car, because this, remember how the ground wire is connected to the frame? This is literally connected to the metal part of your car frame, okay? The reason why they say that is because there's a slight chance, so when you connect these, there's a spark the battery produces hydrogen gas, and there's a slight chance that you could ignite that hydrogen gas that might eke out. I've never seen that happen, but that's why they suggest doing it. Once you have it all connected, try to start it. With this running, if it doesn't start, try like revving this engine while it's revving. You try to start it. If that still doesn't start, let this run for a little bit. Try to start it. Once it starts, don't stop this. Drive it around for a while. Let it recharge. Sound good? And like the disconnect, you just go in the opposite order. Okay? So, there you go.